Okay, open the meeting up for June 9th, 2021. I need a motion to accept the minutes of May 12th, 2021. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Communication report.
So, any questions, let me know. We have the summary report. Let me just spin this around. For the month of May, average 3.4 million gallons. Removal efficiencies are both over 99%. We're 62.5 pounds under the permit for nitrogen, and we averaged under a milligram a liter for phos.
That's fantastic, right?
Yeah, the numbers are really good. I just kept adding this graph just to kind of show you where we're at for the total nitrogen. So you can see even last year when we were doing well, because I think the end of the year we were only like 19 pounds within our line. So this year we're actually probably 30% under last year. And we're already 60, 70 pounds under the permit. So I would imagine about where you see the yellow line right now is about where it's going to stay. I mean, it's not going to go to zero, obviously, but with the averaging we're seeing now, I mean, we'll probably be getting credits this year as long as we don't get a hurricane or something with 10 million gallons. So the numbers are really good. And the phos is extremely low too, and we're not using PAC for that yet either. So which is a lot of cost savings there too. Any questions on that?
As far as the credit goes, how does that work as far as?
So the state, they basically, they go through all the plants, they see what the plants did. They do count for, if they had like a wet season or dry season, they'll kind of put that into the factor. And then like the red line I had on that chart kind of shows where they want the pounds to be if you're under to receive the credits. So as of right now, our yearly average is already under that line. So we'd be getting paid money because our nitrogen is so
So
low.
it is actually a cash
It
credit?
is. Now, it does, some years are lower than others, but they do pay you for that. So I don't know how long it lasts, because I heard like 10 years ago, they may only do it for 5 or 10 and then 20 and so, but we always aim for it anyways. So, which is good news. Any questions on that?
So do you have a feel for what the credits have been over the years, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I think historically here, I averaged it probably 18, 24 months ago when we put the new plant on. We were probably paying 60 to 70,000 a year for credits. And that was part of the reason we got the upgrade and for flow and a bunch of other reasons. This year I just got it in, it'll be on next month's report. So I got it in June. It was 4,200, so it's $4,000. And then this year, like I said, based on our average already, we'll probably be making a couple $1,000. So a big shift if you include like a 60 or 70. For the report. Centerbrook Pump Station, we had to replace the capacitor, contactor, and the relay. It is an older panel there, so we're just looking at replacing it. It shouldn't be too expensive. The station itself is pretty small. There's not a lot of flow there. We pulled a pump at Harlan. We also cleaned the wet well. We just took out some rags and debris in there. We replaced the solenoids and filters at the Patrick Flood Pump Station. And West Farnham, we cleaned out the wet well, which we do quarterly. We coordinate that with the mall. On May 25th, we cleaned out pump 2 at Snowberry, and we had no other issues. We occasionally get some rags in there too. For upgrades in the collection system, we responded to a sewer problem at 11 West Meath Road. And it actually wasn't our problem. I guess they had an issue with their grinder pump in the lateral. It was a group home. So we spoke to the maintenance manager, and they're actually in the process of taking bids to repair everything. We removed the tree that was hung up on the pillbox in the river. I don't know where it came from. It was a large maple and it floated down and got stuck on there. So we were worried that it was probably 18, 20 inches in diameter. So we were worried it crushed something, but we went out there in a little kayak and it didn't. So we cut it up and didn't have any issues. We jetted K Street, Harold Road, Oak Ridge. We also cleaned out culvert at the bottom of South Road with Highway, just to try to, clean it out a bit. And Godwin Pumps and McVac, we're working on getting a schedule ready to clean out, the Patrick Flood Pump Station. And that's the one that we have to basically put the plug in, bypass for a day or two, and then clean everything out, because there's no easy access, because that's the suction of the station. On May 6th, we just treated final 1 and 2. It's a natural like algae chemical, so it cleans it up. It helps any algae that grows in the summer months. So we get this much sun and then the rain, it grows like crazy. We replaced the O-ring for the grit flushing water valve. And we replaced the oil pump and blower number 3. We also ordered a spare. We exercised the plant generator, and also we did the portable tow behind generator as well. We removed the rock out of the headwork screeners. Once in a while we get them in. Typically, we don't see them that often, but we got it that time and it faulted. And we also flushed the watering lines from the dumpster to the pumps. For CTDEP updates, we were selected to participate in a statewide study on PFAS. So we're gonna be taking samples from the influent, effluent, our solids, and the outfall to determine what our amounts are. It's free for us, but we're trying to monitor how much PFAS we have and how much the state has. I don't know if any of you guys have questions on that or are kind of up on the whole PFA issue, but it's a pretty substantial issue. So that will start the end of this year.
Why don't you go over that?
Mark,
So-
what is a PFA?
Polyfluoroalkyl compounds. So if you've ever heard of like Teflon products.
Is this related to the PFAS issue?
Correct. So I don't know if any of you saw the movie Dark Waters with like Mark Ruffalo, I think his name is, or saw the previews for it. These were chemicals that started probably in the 50s and the 60s. They're used for Teflon products. And they're called forever chemicals because it's like an 8 chain of carbons. So basically they naturally never break down, at least not in our lifetime. So, and they're basically used in anything from like Gore-Tex on winter jackets to pans to plastics to anything. But the problem is once they go in the water source, they basically never go out. So there's been studies that said if you pick any humans in the world in Antarctica or in the Himalayas or in the United States, they all have PFAS inside of them. So people are trying to basically research how much is an acceptable limit, how much there is in the water, and how to remove them. So that's basically it in a nutshell.
So it's not directly related to PFAS then.
Well, basically, this is going to be, they're going to sample to see how much are concentrated in the sludge, how much are in the water, and they want to basically see if there is a lot, how can the state work towards removing them? That's what it's going to be. It's not going to be a short term. A lot of it's incineration. They have like RO systems, but I think they want to monitor it before they determine the next step. So, does that answer your question, Phil?
Yes, Mark, thank you.
Yep.
Just clarify for me what the pillbox is. What you consider.
So when you go over the bridge, like you're headed towards the gas station,
Yeah.
and then the effluent goes out.
Yeah, on the right hand side. there's that.
Yeah, you can see it bubbling when the
Yeah.
river's low.
Yeah.
That's basically the pillbox.
Okay, so
So-
that's what the tree was hung up on?
Yep.
Okay,
And so we cleared it all. I mean, it must have snapped off in a storm previous and floated down because the river's so low, it just got stuck.
Yeah.
So we had to cut it up and move it.
I had never heard it called the pillbox.
Yeah, just a different term. Plant upgrades, we started increasing the RAS flow in the fermentation tank, which has been helping with the phosphorus removal as well. Like I said, we haven't been running PAC now for a month, so there's no chemical cost there. It's been doing it biologically. And we're just working on finalizing the new blow program. It's taking a little longer than we thought, but we should have it done by the end of this week or early next week. And that's about it, unless there's any further questions.
Everybody else set? I see they put the apartments,
Yes,
they cut the unit down to 131.
they made them smaller before approving, I thought, correct?
Yeah, they went to 150.
Yeah, they shrunk it. And then the only other one here. Yeah, Mountain Road and Main Street, there was repair of existing laterals. Coyote Court, they collected a fee for the building permit. Dorset Lane, we repaired a existing sewer lateral, which was, gentleman had roots in his lateral, so we ended up jetting inside of that, in front of the house as a courtesy. And we actually jetted his lateral a little bit for him to try to help, but they were farther in the system. So Roto-Rooter came out, they ended up digging up his whole lateral and repairing the rest. There's probably a 4-foot maple tree on top of the driveway right on the side, so eventually they may have to come down. And then Westgate, he was collected for the building permit, and Farmington Avenue stuff. Any other questions?
You got anything new coming up?
At the plant or collections or anything, we're probably gonna drain an aeration tank. Just to check all the diffusers and make sure everything looks good. So we drain the primaries every 6 months, we drain the finals every 6 months or a year. And the aeration tank I'd like to do yearly too. It's just a bigger project because the tanks are so big, so. But that would be the next thing coming up. The Patrick Flood wet well, and then we'll be lining some sewers and root control as normal.
That kind of pumps at Patterson Park.
So far, so good. That's actually one thing, it's a good point. So there was an odor complaint at Patterson Park. It was on probably the hottest day of the year and most humid, so if you are gonna get a complaint, it's typically when you get them.
From Hamilton Way or from?
Hamilton Way behind it.
Yeah.
It was actually the woman who, I think she's the marketing director for West Farms. So we spoke with her, we added new carbon to the unit. We added potassium permanganate, which is an oxidizer, they use it for drinking water too. So basically that knocks out any odor that you would have. And we also are working on a trial with an ozone unit that it creates ozone and then it injects it with air into the wet well. So you're basically pulling any H2S down and then the ozone is oxidizing as well. So between all of that, we've been out there multiple times each week just to check, and there's no distinguishable odor. So I think long-term we'll probably put permanganate at West Farms to help give it contact time up the hill. Because the issue with that station has always been you're going from the elevation at West Farms up the hill and then flying down the corner of the batter, so you stir up whatever's there. But it's a sealed system, we have the odor control, we have permanganate on, so I don't anticipate any other problems.
Well, for the last 3 days, if there was, you would have heard about it.
We are out there every day, so I think it's gonna be fine. I mean, it wasn't even discernible at the gate, so we should be good.
I'm just curious, overall, how would you rate that contractor?
Decent. We had fixed some things on our own. Decent,
Is that job done?
yeah. Anything else?
Anything you can tell us about Avon?
So I know Russ was gonna come on. I'm seeing if I got a message. I'm not seeing mine yet. if not, I said we could discuss it next meeting too.
Yeah.
Cause I don't see him under the attendees. Nothing new really. I mean, they're still paying. We just sent the flows for April and May. We just sent them out. And Andrew, the lawyer, has them, so he's gonna be discussing them, but no other issues. I mean, they're still discussing different plans and looking through all the stuff we sent them, but that's pretty much it. It's a slow process.
Do we have any questions?
No cell tower updates.
I wish I had
It's
one.
unbelievable.
They haven't even been out here. In fact, they put all this, the plywood down last time they were out for the vehicles and stuff.
Yeah.
The plywood looks like curled
Yeah.
because it's been there so long.
Right, yeah,
And Russ and I just discussed that. He hadn't heard anything either.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing.
because there's nothing that mess with it either.
Nothing, either one, yeah.
Right, that one's the same status.
Yeah. So I don't know.
They have to have the contract though, so that they have to perform.
I would imagine, you know, they have a date they have to finish by, but I would be surprised if that wasn't already passed.
Right.
You know,
Who are they working for?
I forget, because it's honestly been so long, I don't even remember. Somebody said it, I would remember immediately, but
So if we're all set, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Being adjourned.
tight ship here.
all right, thank you guys. Have a good night.